before the trophies, before the stadiums chanting his name. There was a hungry boy crying alone at night, far from home. They laughed at his accent. They doubted his future. But what they didn't know was that pain was training him for greatness. If stories of real struggle and real greatness inspire you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment one dream you refuse to give up on. This channel exists to remind you, no matter where you start, your story can change. Millions know the name Cristiano Ronaldo. They see the goals, the trophies, the confidence, the discipline, but very few know the boy before the legend. Cristiano Ronaldo was born on the small island of Madeira, Portugal, far from the spotlight, far from opportunity. His family didn't have wealth, connections, or comfort. They had struggle, and plenty of it. The house was small. The money was always short, and stress lived in every corner. His father worked as a kit man at a local football club, barely earning enough to survive. He struggled with alcohol addiction, a shadow that hung over the family. His mother worked multiple jobs, exhausting herself just to make sure her children didn't starve. Some nights, Cristiano went to bed hungry. Not metaphorically, literally. As a child, he learned early that life wasn't fair. While other kids played freely, Cristiano felt pressure he couldn't explain. Football wasn't just fun, it was escape. It was the only place where the noise faded and the pain made sense. At school, things didn't get easier. His Madeira accent made him a target. Classmates laughed. Teachers complained. "Stop thinking about football," they said. "You'll never make it." Each word cut deep. Cristiano felt misunderstood, underestimated, and isolated. He wasn't bad at school, he was just obsessed. Obsessed with the one thing that made him feel alive. When he played football, the world felt quiet, controlled, bearable. Even then, something burned inside him. A refusal to accept limits placed by others. A belief he couldn't yet explain, but felt deeply. He didn't know how. He didn't know when. But somewhere inside that skinny, hungry boy was a silent promise. This would not be his ending. Hunger has a sound. For Cristiano, it sounded like his stomach tightening late at night while the house fell silent. It sounded like plates being scraped clean too quickly, like his mother quietly saying, "Eat slowly," knowing there wouldn't be seconds. Poverty wasn't dramatic. It was constant. Cristiano noticed it in small things. The way his mother counted coins before shopping, the way his father came home tired, smelling of alcohol and disappointment. The arguments were never loud, but they were heavy. Grown-up worries spoken in half-sentences, paused conversations when children entered the room. He learned early to stay quiet. Football became his refuge. On dusty streets and uneven ground, chasing a ball felt like freedom. When he played, hunger disappeared. Fear disappeared. There was only movement, speed, and control, things life refused to give him. But school was unforgiving. Other kids mocked his accent, stretching his words, laughing when he spoke. "Go back to Madeira," they'd say. "You talk funny." Cristiano burned with embarrassment. His face flushed, fists clenched, heart racing. He wanted to disappear, but instead, anger grew. Not explosive anger. Focused anger. Teachers weren't kind either. They saw a distracted boy, not a desperate one. "Cristiano only cares about football," they complained. "He'll learn the hard way." Every comment added weight. Every laugh reminded him he didn't belong. At home, his mother worried constantly. She believed in him, but belief didn't erase reality. Football was risky. Dreams didn't pay bills. One night, she looked at him and said quietly, "Cristiano, what if this doesn't work?" The question haunted him. What if they're right? What if I fail? What if I let my family down? But quitting felt worse. At 8 years old, he joined a local football club. He trained obsessively. Dirt-stained knees, torn shoes, aching legs, none of it mattered. Pain felt productive. Pain meant progress. While other kids rested, Cristiano stayed longer. While others joked, he practiced. When the lights went out, he imagined himself still running. Football wasn't a hobby anymore. It was hope. Yet even hope came with fear. Every missed shot felt like proof for his critics. Every mistake echoed louder because failure felt permanent when you had nothing to fall back on. Still, something inside him hardened. He began to understand something powerful, even as a child. If life was going to be cruel, he would be relentless. And that relentlessness, born from hunger, humiliation, and quiet rage, was slowly turning a poor boy from Madeira into someone dangerous to doubt. But the hardest test of his young life was still waiting. At 12 years old, Cristiano faced a decision no child should have to make. Leave home or let the dream die. When Sporting CP offered him a place in their academy in Lisbon, it should have felt like a miracle. For many families, it would have been a moment of celebration. For Cristiano, it was a moment of fear disguised as opportunity. Lisbon was far away, the academy was strict, and home, no matter how hard, was still home. The night before he left, Cristiano lay awake listening to the familiar sounds of Madeira, the distant ocean, the quiet breathing of his family. His mother tried to stay strong, but her eyes betrayed her. "You'll be brave," she whispered, hugging him tightly. Cristiano nodded, hiding his tears. Inside, he was terrified. The academy was nothing like home. The room was small, shared with other boys. No comfort, no family, just bunk beds, discipline, and constant comparison. The silence at night was different, heavier, lonelier. Cristiano cried himself to sleep more times than he would ever admit. Loneliness followed him everywhere. And then came the bullying. He was skinny, weaker than others, and his Madeiran accent made him an easy target. Teammates laughed when he spoke. Coaches were impatient. Some boys called him names. "Why do you talk like that? You'll never make it here." Cristiano pretended not to care, but every word cut deep. His chest tightened. His confidence wavered. "Maybe I don't belong here." School didn't help. One day, after a teacher mocked his accent in front of the class, something inside him snapped. Rage surged. He grabbed a chair and threw it across the room. Silence followed. That moment nearly ended everything. Cristiano was close to being expelled. His dream, hanging by a thread. Sitting alone afterward, heart pounding, hands shaking, he realized how fragile his future was. One mistake, and it's over. Fear replaced anger. That night, lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling and made a decision. Not out loud, not dramatically. If he was going to survive here, he would change. Not his accent, not his background, his effort. From that day on, training became personal. He arrived early. He stayed late. When others laughed, he worked. His body hurt constantly. Legs burned. Lungs screamed. But pain felt familiar, almost comforting. It meant he was still in the fight. Slowly, the teasing faded. Not because they stopped judging him, but because he stopped giving them reasons. Cristiano was still lonely, still afraid, but something new had taken root. Discipline. And discipline was becoming his shield. Discipline didn't make life easier. It made it clearer. Cristiano's days began before sunrise. The academy halls were quiet, cold, unforgiving. While others slept a little longer, he tied his boots in silence, heart pounding with the same thought every morning. I cannot fall behind. Training was brutal. Drills repeated until legs trembled. Mistakes were punished with extra laps, sharp words, disappointment written on coaches' faces. Cristiano absorbed it all without complaint. Pain had become familiar. Hunger, too. Some nights, after training and school, exhaustion hit him so hard he could barely lift his arms. He would sit on his bed, staring at the wall, wondering if this sacrifice was worth it. What if I give everything and still fail? Phone calls home were short. His mother tried to sound strong, but Cristiano could hear the worry in her voice. He missed her cooking. He missed laughter. He missed feeling safe. And then life tested him again. At 15, during a routine medical check, doctors found something wrong with his heart, a condition that caused it to beat dangerously fast. The words felt unreal as they explained the risk. Football might not be possible, one doctor said carefully. The room went silent. Cristiano felt numb. Not fear, emptiness. Football wasn't just his dream. It was his identity. Without it, who was he? That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared into the darkness, heart racing, not just physically, but emotionally. Is this how it ends? Surgery was scheduled. The academy buzzed around him, but he felt alone again, like that 12-year-old boy crying quietly in a shared room. On the day of the procedure, fear finally arrived. Real fear. the kind that tightens your chest and steals your breath. As he lay there, machines humming, he thought of Madeira, of his family, of everything he'd sacrificed. Please, just let me play again. The surgery was successful. Recovery was painful, slow, frustrating. Cristiano watched others train while he waited, heart aching more than his body. Doubt whispered constantly, "What if I'm not the same? What if this was the peak?" But when he returned, he trained like a man possessed. Not reckless, focused. Every sprint mattered. Every touch mattered. Something had changed. He no longer trained just to escape poverty or silence critics. He trained because he understood how fragile everything was. Football wasn't guaranteed. Time wasn't guaranteed. So he treated every moment like it could be taken away. And that urgency, quiet, disciplined, relentless, was slowly turning potential into inevitability. When Cristiano returned to full training, the fear didn't disappear. It followed him. Every sprint felt like a test. Every heartbeat felt watched. Every moment on the pitch carried a silent question. What if it happens again? But instead of slowing him down, that fear sharpened him. Cristiano trained with an intensity that unsettled others. He wasn't just trying to be good. He was trying to be undeniable. While teammates joked and relaxed after sessions, he stayed back, practicing shots, dribbling until his legs felt hollow. Coaches began to notice, not just his skill, but his obsession. Still, progress didn't come without pain. Cristiano was promoted to play with older boys, stronger boys. Men almost. He was still skinny, still growing, still easy to push off the ball. Defenders laughed when he went down. Some called him selfish. Others said he tried too hard. "You'll never survive at the top playing like this," one teammate muttered. Those words stayed with him. At night, alone in his bed, Cristiano replayed every mistake, every missed pass, every lost duel. The academy lights outside his window flickered as doubt crept in. Am I forcing this? Am I trying to become something I'm not? But then he remembered Madeira. The hunger, the tears. Quitting was not an option. He began studying the game obsessively, watching others, learning timing, movement, balance. He worked on his body, adding strength slowly, painfully. Muscles burned. Bones ached. But discipline held him together. Then came the breakthrough. One match, under pressure, he stopped thinking. He played freely, fast, fearless, instinctive. He dribbled past defenders, created chances, scored. For the first time, the laughter stopped. Coaches spoke differently now. Teammates passed him the ball more. Respect, earned, not given, started to form. But Cristiano didn't celebrate. He knew better. Success was temporary. Complacency was dangerous. Soon, rumors began circulating. Scouts were watching. Bigger clubs were asking questions. The idea felt unreal and terrifying. What if I'm not ready? What if this is too much, too fast? Pressure returned, heavier than before. Now it wasn't just about surviving, it was about proving he deserved the attention. Cristiano felt the weight of expectations settle on his shoulders. And deep down, he understood something important. The world was starting to watch. And once they did, there would be no place left to hide. The attention changed everything. Suddenly, Cristiano wasn't just another academy kid fighting for survival. He was a name whispered among coaches, a talent mentioned in quiet conversations. Scouts watched him with folded arms and unreadable faces, writing notes he would never see. With attention came pressure. Every touch mattered now. Every mistake felt magnified. Every match carried consequences. Cristiano felt it in his chest before games. The tightness, the anticipation, the fear of falling short. He reminded himself to breathe, to focus on the ball, to silence the noise. But the noise was everywhere. Teammates noticed the shift. Some encouraged him. Others grew distant. Competition sharpened friendships into rivalries. "Don't let it get to your head," someone warned. Cristiano nodded, but inside his mind raced. What if I disappoint them? What if this chance disappears? Then came the moment that changed his path forever. During a friendly match against Manchester United, Sporting CP played with something to prove. Cristiano played like his life depended on it, because in his mind it did. He ran relentlessly, dribbled without fear, attacked defenders again and again. United's players couldn't stop him. After the match, whispers turned into urgency. Sir Alex Ferguson had noticed. Not just the skill, but the hunger. Days later, the news arrived. Manchester United wanted him. The offer felt unreal. Cristiano sat in silence as it sank in. This wasn't just a transfer. It was a leap into a world where expectations were brutal and patience was rare. He was only 18. His mother cried when she heard. Fear and pride mixed together. Leaving Portugal felt heavier than leaving Madeira. Each step forward demanded something behind. Cristiano questioned himself that night. Am I ready for this level? What if I fail in front of the world? But then he remembered every lonely night, every insult, every tear swallowed in silence. He had survived worse. When he arrived in England, reality hit hard. The weather was cold, the language unfamiliar. The league was faster, stronger, unforgiving. Fans were skeptical. The media was ruthless. They called him flashy, unnecessary, overrated. Cristiano felt exposed. But inside, the same fire burned. This wasn't the end of the struggle. It was just the next arena. And once again, he made a quiet promise to himself. I will adapt. I will work. I will not break. Because the world was watching now, and he refused to be forgotten. Manchester didn't welcome him gently. The pace was ruthless. Defenders were stronger. Tackles were harder. And patience was non-existent. Cristiano felt it immediately. This was a different world. Training sessions left his body bruised and breathless. He went down easily at first, knocked off the ball by players who looked at him like he didn't belong. The crowd noticed. The media noticed. Too soft. Too flashy. All tricks, no end product. Every headline felt like a verdict. Cristiano tried to stay composed, but inside frustration boiled. He replayed matches in his head late at night, the noise of Old Trafford echoing in his thoughts. He questioned every move. Am I trying too hard? Should I change who I am? Sir Alex Ferguson saw the conflict. One day after training, he pulled Cristiano aside. His voice was calm but firm. Talent got you here, he said, but discipline will keep you here. The words landed deep. Cristiano began arriving earlier, leaving later. He worked on strength, balance, endurance. He watched videos obsessively, studying defenders, learning when to pass and when to attack. Still, mistakes continued. Missed chances, poor decisions, boos from the stands. There were matches where he felt invisible, others where he felt exposed. Confidence wavered, rebuilt, then wavered again. But quitting never entered his mind. He remembered being 12, crying alone in Lisbon. He remembered surgery at 15. He remembered hunger. Compared to that, this pain was familiar. Slowly, the work began to show. He stayed on his feet longer. His decisions improved. His goals came, not spectacular at first, but meaningful. One night, after scoring, he stood still for a moment, breathing heavily, listening to the crowd. The noise felt different now, not mocking, not impatient. Hopeful. Teammates trusted him more. Coaches demanded more from him. Responsibility grew heavier, but so did belief. Cristiano understood something critical. At this level, talent only opens the door. Staying inside requires transformation. He wasn't the skinny boy from Madeira anymore. But he wasn't the finished player either. He was in between. Still learning, still doubting, still pushing. And as the pressure increased, so did his resolve. Because Cristiano Ronaldo had learned a truth few people ever fully accept. The struggle doesn't end when you make it. It just changes its shape. And he was ready to face what came next. There comes a moment in every long struggle where exhaustion stops feeling physical and starts feeling existential. For Cristiano, that moment arrived quietly. Not after a loss, not after criticism, but after success had finally begun to appear. He was playing regularly now, scoring occasionally, improving visibly. On the outside, it looked like progress. On the inside, he felt stretched thin, mentally drained from constantly proving himself. Every match demanded perfection. Every training session demanded intensity. Every mistake still invited doubt. Late one night, alone in his apartment, Cristiano sat on the edge of his bed, boots untouched, lights off. The city outside was silent. No crowd, no noise, just his breathing, For the first time, he asked himself honestly, how long can I keep living like this? He wasn't thinking about quitting football. He was thinking about quitting fear. Fear of mistakes. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. That fear had pushed him far, but it was also limiting him. Cristiano realized something painful and freeing at the same time. He was still playing to survive, not to dominate. He thought back to the boy on the streets of Madeira. That boy played freely, fearlessly, not to impress, just to escape. Somewhere along the way, pressure had tightened his game. If he wanted to reach the next level, something had to change. Not his work ethic, not his discipline, his mindset. Cristiano made a decision, quiet, deliberate, irreversible. He would stop playing not to fail, and start playing to win. That shift came with risk. Playing boldly meant losing the ball. Taking responsibility meant missing chances. Demanding more meant inviting more criticism. But safety had never built greatness. From that moment on, his preparation changed. Training wasn't just physical, it became mental. Visualization, repetition, control. He studied his own weaknesses with brutal honesty. I will become stronger. I will become faster. I will become relentless. Not overnight, not magically, step by step. Cristiano accepted the cost of greatness before receiving its reward. He stopped asking if he belonged and started acting like he did. The fear didn't disappear, but it lost its power because clarity replaced confusion, purpose replaced anxiety. And once that inner decision was made, Cristiano Ronaldo was no longer just reacting to pressure. He was preparing to impose himself on the world. The turning point wasn't loud, but it was permanent. The decision changed how Cristiano moved through every single day. Execution began where it always had, on the training ground, but now it carried a different weight. This wasn't just about improvement anymore. This was about transformation. Cristiano added hours to his routine. Not because he was told to, but because he chose to. Strength training became brutal. Legs burned. Muscles tore and rebuilt. His body ached constantly, but he welcomed it. Pain meant progress. He stayed after sessions, repeating the same movements again and again. Finishing, positioning, timing, headers, weak foot. Nothing was ignored. Some teammates watched in silence. Others shook their heads. Why work so hard when you're already playing? Cristiano didn't answer. He knew the truth. Playing isn't enough. I want dominance. Matches reflected the work, but not immediately. There were setbacks. Missed chances that drew groans from the crowd. Games where defenders shut him down completely. Nights where criticism returned, louder than before. Selfish. Wasteful. Overconfident. Each word tested his resolve. There were moments, walking off the pitch, chest heaving, when doubt tried to return. What if I'm pushing too far? What if this never pays off? But then the small wins arrived. A goal at the right moment. A decisive assist. A match where he didn't disappear. Momentum built quietly. Cristiano felt it first in his body, stronger in challenges, faster in transitions, sharper in decision-making. Then he felt it in the way teammates trusted him, passed to him under pressure, looked for him when it mattered. Confidence stopped being forced. It became earned. Season by season, he grew. His numbers improved. His presence changed games. What once felt fragile now felt inevitable. The crowd's tone shifted. Boos turned into cheers. Doubt turned into expectation. Cristiano embraced the pressure. He trained not just to perform, but to repeat performance. Consistency became his obsession. When success arrived, he didn't relax. He doubled down. Because he understood something most people never do. Talent opens the door. Hard work keeps it open. But discipline builds a legacy. By the time trophies began to follow, league titles, individual awards, Cristiano was no longer chasing validation. He was setting standards. The skinny boy from Madeira, once mocked and underestimated, was now shaping games at the highest level. And deep inside, he knew, this was only the beginning of who he was becoming. The world now sees Cristiano Ronaldo as a symbol of excellence, of confidence, of relentless ambition. But behind every celebration, every record, every trophy, there is a boy who once went to bed hungry. A boy mocked for his accent. A child who cried alone at night, far from home, wondering if the sacrifice was worth it. His life changed, but not overnight. Success came through years of repetition, discipline, and emotional control. Through moments of doubt no camera ever captured. Through pain he never used as an excuse. At Manchester United, he became a champion. At Real Madrid, he became history. Ballon d'Ors, Champions League titles, records the world once believed were unreachable. But Cristiano never described his journey as luck. Talent without hard work is nothing, he said, because he had lived the truth behind those words. What changed his life wasn't perfect conditions. It wasn't protection. It wasn't comfort. It was consistency. The same discipline that got him off the streets of Madeira carried him through criticism, pressure, and expectations that would have crushed most people. The same hunger that once came from poverty became hunger for improvement. Cristiano learned that confidence is built, not gifted. That belief is earned through action. And that fear doesn't disappear, you outgrow it by moving forward anyway. He lost his father. He carried grief quietly. And still he showed up. Because greatness isn't about never breaking. It's about refusing to stay broken. Today, millions admire Cristiano Ronaldo's success. But very few understand the cost. The loneliness, the sacrifices, the years of being misunderstood. And that is the real lesson of his story. You don't need perfect timing to begin. You don't need approval to commit. You don't need comfort to grow. If a poor boy from a small island, bullied, doubted, and underestimated, can become one of the greatest footballers of all time, then your struggle is not a sentence. It's training. A year from now, you may wish you had started today. This has been a real-life journey of struggle, sacrifice, and greatness, brought to you by Struggle Project Stories. If this story inspired you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's fighting silently. And in the comments, tell us one habit you're willing to commit to starting today. Because discipline doesn't just change careers, it changes lives.